Hello, good morning. Thank you guys all for attending, taking time every day. I know there's a couple of the other sessions, a couple of the tracks you could have attended, so thank you for being here at this one. My name is Santiago. I'm the Community Engagement Specialist with the Center for Sustainable Communities Research and Education. I know it's a really long name, so we go by SCORE. And I work at Georgia Tech, and I'm one of the co-facilitators here for the SDG Fellowship. So briefly introducing the RCE, which is the Regional Centers of Expertise in the Greater Atlanta. So we're a network of a bunch of different students, faculty, staff in the Metro Atlanta area, have a bunch of different university partnerships, but also collaborate with nonprofit organizations, a couple of city officials as well, a bunch of government offices as well. So we're a big gathering of a bunch of different institutions, small partners, big partners, and working towards tackling the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So the SDG Fellowship is part of the programming that the RCE does. And so I'm going to pass it over to Maria so she can introduce the fellowship.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maria Ceballos. I'm the Director of Sustainability at Kennesaw State University. We co-host the SDG Futures Fellowship. And the SDG Futures Fellowship, the goal is to promote impact and progress on the Sustainable Development Goals at a local level. So they are global goals, but we seek impact at a local level. Much like the RCE network, we are made up of a variety of different universities. This year we represent 6 different universities, 6 different fellows, and each one of them is partnered with a local community partner. Throughout the year, they develop a project around the Sustainable Development Goals and the work of the partners that they are working with. And today you're going to be seeing where they are in that progress on those projects. And they'll talk a little bit about how the project is related to the goals, what they're working on, and how it's progressing their partner's mission. So thank you guys so much for being here. And with that, we're going to pass it off to our first SDG fellow, Manuel. Do you want this or do you want that?
Hello, everyone. My name is Manuel Rodriguez. I am a junior economics political science double major from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I am a fellow for the Center of Sustainability at Morehouse College, and I'm also the student coordinator for the Bonner Center, also at Morehouse College. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what the Center of Sustainability is at Morehouse College. It is a small division at Morehouse College, so it's an institutional entity that's whole goal or main purpose is to propose sustainability for Morehouse College. Its primary purpose is to reconfigure Morehouse College's standard of operation towards a more sustainable path on campus, institutionally, so the way that we conserve energy or the way we maintain energy, and even further beyond throughout the Metro Atlanta area. It was created by Dr. Shadid Abdul Salam. He is a Morehouse alumni. He spent a number of years in the public health sector and decided to come back to Morehouse 5 years ago to create the Center of Sustainability because he saw a need for the institution to elevate the way that it operates. And some of the things that they've been doing for the past 5 years is writing grants, gaining money to do a number of operations they've been doing on the campus, creating more ways in which students interact with sustainability, and teaching the importance of sustainability to Morehouse students. Some of the SDG goals that we envelop, SDG goal number 11, modernizing Morehouse College's historic campus. For those who know and those who don't know, Morehouse is very old. The main campus that you saw on the title slide, they moved from Augusta, Georgia to Atlanta in 1879. So for about more than 100 years, that main campus has stayed pretty much the same. The very first resident hall, the first building on Morehouse campus, Graves Hall, is the same bricks that they laid in 1879. So as important as it is to maintain this the history, it is also equally important to revolutionize and try to in a way, make it look better, but also to get with the times. And also in comparison to some other HBCUs, specifically Spelman campus right across, right next door, which is only a little bit younger than Morehouse, they've been able to implement a lot of sustainable aspects within their campus, the way that they present themselves on campus and the way that they operate. And so I would make the argument that it is equally important for Morehouse, being one of the most premier HBCUs in the country, to do the same. HT goal number 7, reducing Morehouse, because it is very old, there's a lot of ways in which we do things that are also a bit outdated. About 96% of our waste goes to landfills. We've been able to reduce that a little bit, but so far that's a bit of a high number. And so the primary goal, or one of the primary goals, is to divert some of those practices to more sustainable energy sources, such as creating solar panels or diverting the use of gas to more sustainable ways, or to reducing our carbon footprint. That is both important to reduce costs, but also the effect that we have on the local area. Because Morehouse is an open campus, we're embedded in a lot of the suburban and urban area. And so if we start on campus, it will then bleed into other areas of the Metro Atlanta area. And SG goal number 3, providing good health and well-being. Food prices are going up. That's a very important problem going on, especially for young students such as myself. Having access to fresh food and fresh vegetables, more specifically, is becoming a little bit harder. And so if the campus or if Morehouse can supplement that through using our local greenhouse and growing fresh food, I think that will definitely create a holistic impact. So some of the notable achievements that the Center of Sustainability has done thus far. Number one, a big one is recycling roughly 10,000 pounds of cardboard in the summer of 2023, 2024. About 5 students that were handpicked by Dr. Shadid worked over the summer for about 4 months. And by taking some of the loose cardboard throughout campus, primarily during move-in day in August, that reduced the amount of landfill from 96%, or no, about 6%. Oh, I'm sorry. Increased the amount of recycling done by Morehouse from 6% to 12%, which is a huge number for only 4 months. We've also implemented recycling bins throughout the campus. And so within all resident halls and all campus buildings, especially on streets, especially on Brown Street, which is the main campus road, there are recycling bins everywhere. And so everybody is encouraged to recycle as much as possible because it's kind of right in front of your face. And also, we've provided 4 year-long Morehouse fellowships through the Recycling Partnership, which is a nonprofit organization. It provides $50,000 to each one of those students. And they focus mainly on sustainability, circulatory, and recycling. Some of our continued efforts that we've been going through this year is creating a sustainability minor, specifically a sustainability and economics minor, is being headed by Dr. Mona Ray. She is the advisor for the economics department at Morehouse College, and she's been working very closely with Dr. Shadid in creating an academic incentive to learn about sustainability. As also as refurbishing the greenhouse. It actually takes quite a lot of effort to maintain a greenhouse. And so there's been a number of events that we've been doing over the years to try to invest more through the student engagement and through the school itself. Let's see some of the pictures. This was from 2 years ago. We had students come in, put some plants in there, get some nice leafy greens in there. So I wanted to leave you guys with a quote from one of our very prominent Morehouse alumni. Over the heads of our students, Morehouse holds a crown that she challenges them to grow tall enough to wear. This is synonymous with some of the problems that the Center of Sustainability has been facing. One of the primary ones is the Center of Sustainability is pretty much the only organization on Morehouse campus that is dedicated towards solely promoting sustainability. if you were to compare it to Spelman College, where there's not only the RCE, but there's a number of organizations, student-run and institutional organizations that are focused on sustainability, Morehouse is a bit lacking in the way in which we approach sustainability and how the level of importance that we put on sustainability on campus and as an institution. And another big thing is sustainability is not taught academically and institutionally, especially as one of the premier HBCUs. I think it is extremely important for not only myself, but my other fellow brothers to learn in the ways of sustainability. Sustainability is a very big word. It encompasses a lot of things. But the primary thing is, how do we do things better, faster, and more efficient? And I think there's something to lack. It's something that the Center of Sustainability can definitely play a major role in. So these are some of the deliverables. As I said before, I'm the fellow working for the Center of Sustainability as well as the student coordinator. This is actually the first year we partnered with Morehouse College. And so these are some of the things that we can definitely improve on for the further years, and some of the things that I think we've done pretty well in so far. So one of the main things is as a fellow, I think it is deeply important for me and those who come after me to work very intimately with the Center of Sustainability. Dr. Shadid actually works by himself in the Center of Sustainability. He used to have a staff of about 4 people, but since they've elevated to a higher stance within the institution, he's really the only guy who's doing the thing. And so I think it's imperative that somebody such as myself work as an intern or basically work as his right-hand man to get some of that workload off of him so that he's able to expand and to give more credence to things that are also equally important, such as the educational aspect of sustainability. And another big thing is collaborating with other HBCUs. Spelman College, like I said before, big in sustainability. Clark Atlanta has also been doing some efforts as well, but because we are lagging a little bit in the way that we go about sustainability, I think it's imperative that as the fellow, you create those intimate ties. And as a coordinator, there's a intersection, as you will, between the two. As a coordinator, I think some of the major roles is to coordinate events that will not only create student engagement, but also basically advertise the Center of Sustainability and to basically convince the college that this is the road that we need to go down, because only one man can do so much. And to create a long tie between the RCE Greater Atlanta, because the RCE Greater Atlanta has such an expansive repertoire of people they have contact with, as well as Morehouse College. Bridging that gap will elevate our efforts mutually. So what does the future hold? I think overall, from what I've experienced during this fellowship, I think the main thing is creating a more sophisticated connection between RCE, Greater Atlanta, and Morehouse College, specifically through the Barner Center. The way in which that we interact with each other would definitely benefit one another, and so if we figure out a way to innovate that tie, I think would definitely be beneficial. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. So we are running kind of a tight ship on time because we have a few students to get through. But we do want to open it up for questions. So any questions? Yes, sir. Hold on. We need to give you the mic. Yeah, just for recording purposes. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Great presentation. What role do you see with community partnerships and community organizations playing in what you're talking about?
In what respect? With the RCE or with other organizations?
Well, I know the RCE because our organization is a part of the mailing list and we show up to some of the events. My question is, with working with some of the other community organizations that are throughout Atlanta and talking about sustainability, do you see a lot of partnership opportunity there? And what do you think it would take to bring more people to the table to encourage sustainability, not only for Morehouse, but also for people in the community?
Oh, of course, I definitely agree. I think that because Morehouse is kind of in the center And because there is a lot of interaction between a lot of organizations within Atlanta through Morehouse, and not just Morehouse, but through the AUC in general, I think as a coordinator, it is kind of embedded in that role to go out and find these other organizations, not just within the RCE, but there's a number of nonprofits that work. Towards sustainable ideas. To name a few, like homeless shelters or food banks. The last year, when I worked with the Morehouse School of Medicine, I did a project on homelessness, and we proposed an idea of creating like a pipeline project where those who are homeless would go from working with a shelter to working with. I'm trying to think of the name of the organization, but basically getting into housing. And so that's just, one project, one idea that came from, a simple student. I think once you have a more continuous lineage of coordinators who continue that work, you'll definitely have a more robust network.
I'm sorry.
Okay, you mentioned kind of balancing, I guess, getting with the times and also like preserving the history of Morehouse. So like, can you speak more on that? Because I wouldn't normally think that those are at odds, but what are the challenges that you're facing with that right now?
Really good question. So Morehouse's biggest thing, I guess you could say, is history. We really take pride in our alumni and the people who have come before us. Martin Luther King, you all heard of him, but we talk about him extensively in almost every single class that you go to, ground forum specifically. But even more than that, Howard Thurman, the quote that I brought up earlier, Benjamin Elijah Mays, his grave is literally on campus. And so the balance between modernization and history is important when you have such a historic foundation. Morehouse College didn't just start in 1913 when it was named Morehouse College. At first, it was Augusta Theological Institute in Augusta, Georgia. That started around 1867. So right after the Civil War, and so it was that for a few years. Then it moved to Atlanta, became the Augusta Theological Seminary, and then a few years later, it was renamed Morehouse College. And so it's especially with the Black excellence aspect of it as well, because there's just so much history to it. And because it's almost like a spiritual kind of thing going on campus. They want to preserve that as much as possible. And to do that in their mind, I guess you could say, is preserving the building, preserving the literal structures that a lot of these great men have passed through, so we can soak up that greatness in a spiritual way.
Hello? Okay. Okay. Hello, my name is Carrington Garrett. I'm a recent graduate of Kennesaw State University. Go Owls. I was an international affairs major with a minor in Asian studies. And the company that I have partnered with RCE is Reloom. So a little bit about Reloom. Reloom essentially is a really unique concept because they use recycled fabrics and textiles from companies, different types of businesses, universities, etc., to essentially hand make really pretty artisan products. So they have stuff like pillows, wallets, clutches, stuff like that. And essentially it just makes a really good and sustainable impact on our fashion world today, considering fast fashion has become a major issue in today's pollution, I suppose. So, yeah. So in 1992, Lisa Wise was named the executive director of Initiative. And under her, this is where the origins of Reloom essentially started. So Initiative, however, created the Reloom that we know today as a response to the 2009 economic crisis. And essentially what we know it as today is not only is Reloom an extremely sustainable impact on like I said, our fashion today, but also it provides employment to people who don't have a history of employment, people who are struggling to get employment and housing. And so they essentially teach them skills, they train them up with stuff that they may not have learned before so that they can essentially graduate from the program knowing different things like how to, organize, how to have commitments, discipline, and stuff like that. And yeah, it's a very, and also it has been able to help 34 residents gain employment experience and provide for their families. So of course, Reloom impacts many different SDGs. The first one is no poverty. This definitely is impacted by providing full employment, wages, and benefits to their low income and homeless employees. The other one is SDG 8, decent work and economic growth. As I said, this kind of goes hand in hand with the previous one, where it helps provide training to their employees and equipping them with valuable skills. The next one would be SDG 10, because it reduces inequalities, also goes back to training the individuals and getting them decent help. And then SDG 12, as I said before, responsible consumption and production, where, of course, by upcycling discarded items to make their products, they essentially reduce waste and help contribute positively to a more responsible circular economy. So the process, when I did go there, they basically, obviously, they get the donated fabrics, they cut them up in their little center, and they make these little yarn balls out of the discarded fabrics. And then with the fabrics, the employees use them to hand make it in an actual like big wooden loom. And they just hand make every piece of thread on there. And and that is an example of, I believe, like a coaster. And so, like as I said, everything in there is handmade, and they will sit there for like hours just making one thing. So it's really like there's a lot of love and a lot of time and effort put into them. So what I do, essentially, I do not really work inside the weave house. However, my priorities mostly lie in research for the company. So because Lisa Wise, the founder, ended up passing away a couple years before, they are kind of trying to rebrand, trying to figure out where they're going to go with the company because it is such a small company. And unfortunately, the prices are a little high, but because it goes directly into their employees' pockets. So they're trying to figure out exactly how they're going to grow from where they're at. So essentially, I just do a lot of research on sustainability. I do a lot of research on branding and marketing for them, and just pretty much anything I'm asked of. So my general goals, I work on a document, or initially I was working on a Google Doc that's very unorganized. So instead I made a blog site for them. That's going to be my deliverable. Just so that when they go back and all the research I've done, the statistics and the data that they need to present to other companies, it'll be right there in like a blog form. And that's just an example of a infographic I've made. So I'm just gonna, if I can click on the blog, it's not fully done, but yeah, this is what I have so far. And you can just click on everything you need. I have like a gallery, and let me just go to the gallery. Just like little pictures of the products they make and like the process. And like I said, it's not fully fleshed out yet. I'm still figuring out what to add, but yeah, that's pretty much everything I do. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
All right. Any questions? Here we go. Any questions? Sorry. Yes.
Hello. Hi. I came in a little bit late, but I'm so glad that I came in. My name's Nita Penn. Hi, everyone. Beautiful presentation. I'm familiar with this organization. And so I definitely want to just commend you on helping them to like modernize and to strategize and do some research, strategic research and planning around that. That is amazing. I think the last time I was introduced to them, they had like looms, like the lanyards, and they had them hand woven. It was for Georgia State, if I'm not mistaken. And I still have one. So this is amazing. I'm actually a graduate student at Robinson College. I'm studying international business. An MBA in international business. And so I definitely would love to talk to you more about what you're doing, because I'm actually building a sustainable brand too through like a new venture development course. So any help that you would need on the research side, I would love to work with you and collaborate. Or that's just me. But anyway, I just wanted to say thank you for the amazing work that you're doing. What are your next steps around, aside from your final deliverable and beautiful infographic, by the way, and the blog is great. What are your next steps for you for your own like professional development? And is this like, do you plan to work with more ESG sustainability focused companies in the long run? Just what are your future goals?
Thank you. I would definitely love to work with you, even as my program is ending. But my general professional goals, I am actually just finishing up a stint of working at the Capitol, Georgia State Capitol. If y'all know, Asani died today, so it's our very last day. I'll be here till midnight. But after that, I signed up for the Peace Corps. If I can finish all of that, I'll be going to Sri Lanka. I did want the environmental part of it, but unfortunately, when you sign up for high need, you kind of have to like take what they give you. So yeah, after that, I honestly would love to stay somewhere within the global relation or the sustainability realm once I come back. But yeah, I just really want to keep working with the stuff I love, make a good impact.
I'm awesome. Sorry, I just wanted to follow up. Are they a certified B Corp or working toward that? Or are you doing any research for them around that?
A what? I'm sorry.
A B Corp.
I don't know what that is.
Okay, we'll talk. Okay. For sure.
Any other questions? Oh, somebody had their hand up. I'm sorry. There you go.
Hi, I'm Lucius Botus from South Africa. Thank you very much for sharing. And maybe also I can offer to link you with some colleagues in the Philippines working at a network of technical universities. And what they've done is also they've made big inroads in terms of their R&D in actually working around discarded textiles, discarded clothes. So much so that the last two Miss Universe and Miss World pageants, a big percentage of the Southeastern clothing of the women parading there were done by discarded clothes as well. But I can link you to one or two professors in the Philippines, yeah.
Thank you so much. I would love that. Oh my gosh. I love Miss Universe.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, my name is Lanal Haz. I'm actually the executive director of Initiative, of which Relume is one of our programs. So the first thing I want to say is thank you very much to all involved. So I would like to talk to you as well and several people here. I assume I'll be able to connect to y'all through Carrington. I do want to say a couple of things. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So, and we have 3 programs. Relume is one of them. The other 2 programs are affordable housing. So we have 4 multifamily properties, and we have a small transitional housing program that works with homeless women with children to move them toward stable, permanent housing. So, but mostly I just want to say thank you very much. And yes, we are rebuilding, and it's with a lot of friends, we think we can do it. So thank you.
Okay. All right, well, thank you, Carrington. Up next, Genesis.
Okay. I'm coming up with my intern. Hello. Okay. Hello, everyone. How are you guys all doing? Great. I love hearing that. My name is Genesis Price, and I'm a second-year sociology major on the pre-law track from Macon, Georgia, and I study at Spelman College. And I'm so thankful to be an intern with the RCE Fellowship and to be working with Ms. Charmaine with the Praise House. And so today we're going to be just talking about how we've localized the SDGs through the Praise House and some of the things that we've been doing. And so, of course, I cannot explain Praise House without talking about Miss Charmaine Minifield. I love her so much. And so I'm just going to allow her to talk a little bit about herself in the project, but also what the Ring Shout is and just the history behind Praise Houses. Good morning, everyone. I'm not sure if this is the same audience that will be joining me in an afternoon discussion. Well, I'll be talking about this again, but you'll get a preview. I was raised in a Pentecostal church in the Midwest, and from that experience, I was taught the shout. And the shout is a full-bodied rhythmic prayer that we would perform in community. And we would stand in circle, and who's heard of the term call and response? Yes. Well, there's a movement to it, not just a musical tradition. It also is a movement and dance tradition. Okay, so we would stand in circle and sing and call and response, and we would move the whole room of us in a full-bodied rhythmic prayer. And that was how we would meditate. Our meditation was in motion and in community instead of in stillness and in solitude. That was how we would meditate in community together. And we did that in secret safe spaces called praise houses. And our praise houses became our government seats and our sacred gathering spaces. And so at Emancipation, we rescued them and we moved them from our points of enslavement to our points of freedom, our freedmen's towns. And that's where they rest still today. And the project uplifts our effort of repurposing and historic preservation of those structures and those principles and ideas. One thing that I have been able to learn about being in freedmen's towns, like I go to historic sites in those communities, those descended communities, and recall my own family's memories, like pre my own lifetime, right? I go into those spaces to recall those memories. I am learning the language of the freedmen's towns and the currency, and the actual currency. Does anybody know? Anybody want to guess? It's love. It's love. And so that's why Dr. King is a descendant of a freedmen's town and a ring shout and our earliest faith traditions, and promoted as a principle of existence, like as an institution, love. And so as you hear even his daughter speak so eloquently in his tone and forward that legacy in society today, know where that comes from. That was what survived the Middle Passage, our power. So the project recalls that. Isn't that just so beautiful? That's so beautiful. And so through the fellowship, of course, we're tasked with defining some SDGs. And so the two that I chose were SDG 10, reduce inequalities, and SDG 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. And these SDGs are very important to the project because we really hone in on historical preservation, especially with the policy that is going on now. Historical preservation is so important. Remembering where we came from and who came before us is so important. And we recognize that history is not just something that we read on paper, but something that lives inside of us. And so the Praise House has a very spiritual
approach to sustainability, which makes it so unique because it's something that I think that whenever we think about sustainability, we don't really think of. We might be thinking of the environment or, just so many other things, but not necessarily the spiritual inside heart aspect of sustainability. And so with that being said, we have a video and it's just shown some of the updates that have happened over the past couple of months and also part of our deliverables that we've had with Spelman. And so right now, as we're seeing, the video is playing, but one of our biggest accomplishments that we've had thus far is that we were actually able to move successfully to Southview Cemetery. Yes.
I got to give the whole story. I don't know if we want to do that now, but I don't know the difference between now and this afternoon. This is us saving it from Emory. It was scheduled for demolition. It was not built to be moved. But we introduced the idea of saving it to save the wood. And sure enough, it became a recalling of that memory, that communal memory, saving a praise house from the point of enslavement, Emory. That's when we were lifting up those stories. And then we moved it to south to Beacon Hill, where it rests for to acknowledge the previous time. It's actually the same thing. And we did so again. We're short on time, so I want to.
Yeah, I'm going to skip forwards. Yes. So
did y'all see that? That was awesome.
Okay. And so
this afternoon, you'll see the whole one.
Yes.
We had a gathering at Spelman.
Yes. And so part of our deliverables were just really honing in on education, especially at HBCUs, and increasing the awareness of praise houses. So actually, oh, that's me. Okay. Last week, oh my gosh, I'm just fangirling my room. Okay. So actually, last week, we were able to have our first event at Spelman College where we just really introduced praise house to the college. And so we successfully
through the social justice program.
Yes, we successfully have done that, and actually it's just so great seeing it work on both sides because I've actually been able to work with the Quarterman Keller scholars looking at racial healing and reparations, which is just an extension of the project. And so we are planning for more events at Spelman College and more ways to get students involved with the Praise House project, and hopefully looking at putting a curriculum in the African diaspora in the world section of, so basically freshman year, we have to take a class called African Diaspora of the World. And so this is just very important in understanding our history, especially at HBCUs, and how praise houses have shaped our HBCUs, especially.
Many HBCUs were founded in praise houses.
Yes.
Morehouse was founded in a praise house in Augusta.
Yes. And so they're very important to our history. And like we said, that is something that a lot of us do not really think about. And so we are open for questions, and just as we let the video play behind, but thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much. Beautiful presentation. I'm very familiar with the Praise House, but I love the way you illustrated the thread between sustainability and how that factors into SDG goal, especially for people working in social impact space, making certain that you're doing that healing so you can continue the work. So question I have, are there any initiatives or thoughts around how do you bring the Praise House ideology to a predominantly white institution? So someone who is an Emory alma mater alumni, I think about it's not only important when we talk about, in the current climate, American history, that it is shared with HBCUs, but in trying to reframe what the Praise House is and the connectedness also on a predominantly white campus so that you do kind of change policy going forward and how people frame things in their mind and what they think about.
Possibly I am the change I see.
I'll answer that because I lived that experience working with Emory. Are you familiar with when the Praise House was at Emory? Yes. Okay, so the Praise House project is a social experiment. And it happens in public face, maybe 30%. The actual social experiment is in the planning space, the other 70%. A lot of the work around the project is diversity, equity, inclusion work. To stand in community and demand space around Black narratives is resistance work in predominantly white-run institutions, acknowledging their history with slavery. Okay, so it became clear to me as an urgency that I needed to be paid. For instance, there could not be a scenario where I was not just presenting my art, but I was affecting change at that level, on an institutional level, and not being compensated. So I began to solicit national funding that ultimately did gain the award of a fellowship, an 18-month fellowship. So I was able to sustain. I needed to say that, like that mattered greatly. And recognizing that in community, not just within my own experience, like saying that to the people we were working with, then insisting on the project being a priority at a white institution. As a Black woman living in the South, a descendant of this history myself, and uplifting the stories of the descendants who had been systematically erased. That was my work. I rested in community with those elders. I lifted up their efforts for reparations. I recorded their oral histories. I carved out spaces inside of departments and budgets and even land to have their stories told. It affected change. It did. It did. It affected change within the institutions, within departments and individuals, and in community. Like people were going, what? Like, what is that? What? And it glows, because it illuminated the history at night. So the work of standing in the storm of erasure is both past and present. And so we feel really accomplished as a project and as a community, and not just like those of us who are on this picture or part of my team, but those 26 partners and allies from individuals to institutions, RCE up in there, that made it all so. And so when it moved from Emory and lifted up and moved down that street, all of those naysayers or hesitant folk were the ones with the video cameras, recording and documenting. And it's not just, in white institutions. It also is in communities that have never been invested in. And they're going, why are you coming to our community? What does this mean? And also you're reflecting on history that was hard, difficult. So we sit in community and work in a loving way through all of that. And it is, and that person with the NPU at Southview was the one with tambourine at the ring shout, so you sit and watch from an individual to community-wide and institution level change. And I think the best place to do that is inside of memory. And that's what the Praise House is. Thank y'all for the extra
I hate to cut you guys short, but we're kind of running a little low on time. So, Nneka.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Nneka Otwanye, and I am a current junior here at Georgia State University. My major is in biology with a pre-med concentration, and I minor in anthropology. And in terms of my career aspirations, I hope to become a physician scientist, which means someone who has a dual degree both within the medical doctor field along within the PhD field. Typically, that school takes around 7 to 8 years, but I can go into more detail about that after this presentation. I'm very honored to have been a part of the SDG Futures Fellowship, specifically within the Center for Sustainable Communities, under the mentorship of Mr. Gary Harris. And I really appreciate Ms. Donna for also being here. Thank you all also for coming to this session. It's very nice to see that people are influenced and engaged with what us young leaders of tomorrow are doing, and it's very nice to, be surrounding in a community of people who are appreciative of sustainability. Before I go on to the next slide, I want to briefly discuss what the Center for Sustainable Communities is. The Center for Sustainable Communities is an organization that was developed by Mr. Gary Harris, and it has over 50 years of expertise within the fields of environmental activism, clean energy initiatives, along with sustainability. To note a few of the accomplishments of the Center for Sustainable Communities, it recently won an award related to sustainable outputs this past year, and it's a very big part of the sustainable field here in Atlanta. Additionally, it often partners with other organizations such as the Atlanta Metropolitan College, in which they've done initiatives related to clean air policies where they've monitored the air pollution within such areas. And down in the bottom, in case you guys would like to scan this QR code, are my other 2 deliverables I did for this project. In addition to this presentation, I made a brochure for the Center for Sustainable Communities along with a concept paper. And without further ado, I will detail what I did during this fellowship. So, during the fellowship, my main goal was to work within creating a transformative preliminary plan for the Center for Sustainable Communities, specifically through the institute known as the National Environmental Justice Institute, as Mr. Harris likes to say, NEJI. And so basically, NEJI is an institute in which the Center for Sustainable Communities is trying to uphold and increase its research credibility as it's becoming a big leader within our research field. And as a researcher myself, it was very nice to see what goes behind the scenes when it comes to building these great institutions that we know, such as CDC and the NIH. And so within this, I was focused on perhaps looking for grants and proposals that we could apply to in order to further exemplify our importance within the environmental field. In terms of the mission of NEJI, we wanted to help provide communities with sustainable outputs through many spheres, ranging from engagement, education, and research. Specifically, the values in which we focused on were equity, community engagement, along with sustainability. And lastly, here are the goals of NEJI, which we have on the Center for Sustainable Communities website. And to note a few, we have research along with advocacy and policy, showing how we're a very multidisciplinary organization and we want to increase our influence within this rolling sphere of environmentalism. Oh, nice. I was looking for a clicker. So, in terms of the key sustainable development goals we look at, we have many, but I will specifically note on the next slide our main one, which is SDG 17. But to note the ones that we have SDG 10 along with 11, 13, 16, and 17. And based on these, in case you can't see, they state reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, climate action, peace, justice, and strong institutions, along with partnerships for the goals. Awesome. So, as I stated previously, our main goal is to target SDG 17, which emphasizes the importance of partnerships. As many of you guys know, science is not a field in which you can do alone. Typically, you need to be within a room full of other multidisciplinary individuals in order for you to make change in this world. And with that being said, this is why we focused on this SDG. Because since NEJI is still continuously trying to bolster its credibility, we need to be able to partner with nearby institutions that have that research credibility. And so, as I said, that's why we focused on SDG 17. And by enhancing NEJI's research potential, it will allow us to have more funding and perhaps even researchers for the future. In terms of the strategic goals that we focused on, we had 3 in mind, and with each 3, we wanted to focus on increasing our research capacity, our community engagement, along with the engagement mechanisms that we have, which I will go into detail later. So in terms of increasing our community engagement, we wanted to do that through collaborative frameworks. And as you guys have noted, throughout my entire presentation, I have been emphasizing the importance of partnerships. So we wanted to focus on developing more partnerships, along with making research teams to have these partnerships come into fruition. As it relates to our research capacity, we wanted to focus on our evaluation and adaptation. And this also notes into our community engagement. By having regular assessments in which our future leaders of tomorrow can, provide feedback, it will allow us to have a system in which we can focus back on and ensure that, like, if anything goes wrong, we can reevaluate that and do root cause analysis. Additionally, we wanted to have strategies to allow for our evaluation and an assessment to go well, and for us to further be able to increase the power that NEJI has within this research world. As for the community strategies, we wanted to implement workshops along with action plans and partnerships to further allow for the community to be more engaged. Currently, I serve as a City of Atlanta Sustainability Ambassador, and I've seen how important it is to have those community strategies. And I believe by implementing things that we see within our local communities, such as the City of Atlanta, it will allow for NEJI to become a big and great institute. And so, to further detail more of the work I did in relation to the plan that I developed all throughout this slide, I was very interested in the grant proposal area because as a future scientist and researcher, I see my PI, which stands for Principal Investigator, always being like, okay, Neka, I have to go fill out grants. Like, I have so many grants to fill out. And I was like, okay, like, I wonder why, people always emphasize this. I'm like, oh, this is how we're getting paid. This is how we're actually able to do this stuff. And so, given the time frame of the SDG Future Fellowship, I focused on grants and scholarships that I could apply to for the next coming months. And then the challenges that I noticed were many of the grants often open in the summertime, and that is after this fellowship ends, but I hope to continue my involvement here. Additionally, I also saw that a lot of the fellowships that I saw had already passed. Going back to how I said, most of it is within the summer. But some of the grants that I did identify were the Global Human Fellowship, along with the World Sustainability Award and the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority. I think another note is a lot of these grants, you have to make sure you filter where you look, because a lot of them are internationally, so many people can apply to them. And I figured since NEJI is starting off to become an institute, we need to look locally before we look globally. Yeah. As for the future visions, going back to our strategic goals of community engagement, research capacity, and partnerships, I believe by having these conversations as we're having here in this room, we'll be able to bolster not only the ecosystem that NEJI thrives on, but also the ecosystem of Atlanta as related to sustainability. Last but not least, here is the Center for Sustainable Communities website, along with my LinkedIn if you want to get into connection. Thank you so much.